Ubisoft is in full damage control mode now, trying to speak out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to the new Assassin's Creed Shadows game. On the one hand, they're trying to be as authentic as possible to Japan, while on the other hand, talking about how it's creative liberties, it's a work of fiction, it shouldn't matter. Well, you're gonna have to let us know, which is it? So welcome back to Words of Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idle, and yes, Assassin's Creed Shadows lead producer claims we are trying to create a game that is as authentic as possible. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say that is absolute bogus, considering you had been called out well before even the racial controversy of Black Yasuke. You were called out for not even getting the architecture of feudal Japan correctly and being told by Japanese individuals that the architecture actually looked incredibly Chinese. And then, of course, you add Black Samurai Yasuke to it. You add the fact that you were called out for unauthorizingly using a flag of a war reenactment group. I mean, you were called out for having a sword be like Zoro's sword from One Piece. Like, there's so much wrong going on in terms of this, as authentic as possible. And your defense the entire time has been, oh, well, it's historical fiction, to the point where you even had to apologize to the Japanese community in one of the most brain-dead basic apology messages I've ever seen on X that was as corporate and disgusting as you could think of. But yet you're trying to run the narrative that this is that you're being as authentic as possible. Again, speaking out both sides of your mouth, running damage control. I'm just saying.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Press X to doubt. In the wake of numerous controversies related to the game's historical accuracy, Assassin's Creed Shadow lead producer Carl Onay has claimed that one of the game's main priorities is to make sure it shows proper respect to Japanese culture. Yeah, why are you even sitting down in interviews and talking about this nonsense after Ubisoft already had to come out and make that apology on the internet? It's actually, the fact that you got the balls to do that is pretty impressive, but then again, the interviewer didn't give any pushback on any of these explanations, so it makes sense as to why they would sit down for interviews like these. They already know they're going to be given softball questions that even if they whiffle, that people they don't care. It's not going to matter. The game's still going to come out. People are still going to be idiots and sheep, and they're going to buy it. Onay put forth the assertion that while speaking to game industry biz Christopher Dring regarding the development process behind Ubisoft's next Assassin's Creed entry, speaking to the game's supposed dedication to properly representing its historical setting, the producer asserted, "We are trying to create a game that is as authentic as possible. It's something we take pride in." Then why, after the Japanese made their disdain apparent to the point where, while I must reiterate, you effectively made a 4-page apology on X that just amounted to, "We hear you, but fuck you, we're gonna do what we want anyway." Now you're trying to say you take pride in this? No. You don't get to play that game. You either get to say, no, it's historical fiction, or, man, we're sorry, we did a horrible job of adapting your Japanese legacy, but you don't get to have it both ways. It is also a very long process, he added. When we build a Japanese house from feudal Japan, it's very different from, say, a French medieval house or an English one. You have to learn artists where these things go inside of feudal Japan's house. You have to learn as artists where things go inside a feudal Japanese house. Maybe the food doesn't go there. You have to get everything you need to know and learn it, and that process is long. And frankly, I don't think you guys care about the artistic integrity enough to actually do all that. You say all these fancy sounding words, and it's complete and utter lip service because you release a new Assassin's Creed game every 2 years like clockwork. You just crank them out because you know people will buy them. Like, Assassin's Creed has fallen so far from what it originally was back in the PS3 era. Now it's just become another Call of Duty, but for like somewhat more intelligent individuals. To this end, Onay turned to his team's research process, therein noting that one of the most important aspects of their work was apparently making physical visits to Japan proper. It's not feudal Japan, obviously, but it's good to go on site, because it's only then that we realize it is very different from what we think it is, said the producer. It's very interesting, because we had the team went there. One of the things that just jumped out was the forest and how they are. We had made some forests based on the Greece landscape for Odyssey, but when we went, we noticed it was very different to what we'd done, and we had to change it. You mean different parts of the world with different geography and different climates have different flora and fauna and completely different Yeah, no shit. What do you mean you had to change it? Did you just be like, I never seen a Japanese forest before. Just slap on one of them good old Midwest America forests. Ain't nobody gonna pay any attention. And then you go to Japan and you're like, oh, everything here is made of bamboo. Also, there's a lot of bodies hanging from the tree in this general area of the forest. I wonder what that's all about. Like, are you up your... What do you mean you had to change it? What did you have done beforehand? You don't necessarily find that stuff out when doing historical research. Motherfucker, you can go to Google Maps and just type in Japanese forest, and you will be able to see a visual representation of how it is very different than the forests in, again, France, where you're from, assuming that you guys ever leave the city. I have a hard time believing that you guys ever leave the city, but again, that's neither here nor there. From there, the producer said, was then pressed by his host to how the team was approaching the specific development of a title set in motion, not their own. Ubisoft is a French company with their headquarters currently residing in who gives a fuck Paris. To which he affirmed, obviously, when we make a game, we're trying to appeal to a global audience. Yeah, you're trying to appeal to a modern audience, and that modern audience doesn't exist. Yet again, for some reason, this game is going to do well. Now, mind you, this game is going to do well. However, given the insane development costs, I don't think it's going to make money. I don't think it's going to be like a horrendous flop or anything. But it's certainly not going to actually be a return on investment. We've already seen that Alan Wake, which is a far smaller game than this, has not made its money back yet. Alan Wake 2 hasn't. Now you've got Assassin's Creed, which has far more controversy attached to it, with an entire nation of individuals, calling out what this company is doing. It has been just mired with controversy for months now. And then you add to that the development costs? Nah, bro, I don't think this game's gonna actually even break even, let alone break a profit. It can make, $1 billion. But if the budget and marketing came to 1.2 billion, then I mean, you still lost out. Now, obviously, I'm using very large, hyper-exaggerated numbers. That's not what it actually costs to, promote and produce this game. But you get what I'm saying. Since we're making a game in Japan, we do hope to appeal more to Japanese players, posited One. So it's very important that we try to be as authentic as possible. We come from a humble position of we don't know anything. We need to learn everything from scratch. You clearly don't know anything. You made a black dude who was a footnote at best in Japanese history the main character, and then try to claim that you were working with some historical accuracy. So no, I don't think you're trying to make this appeal more to Japanese players, because if you were, then you would know that Japanese players want to play as a Japanese dude. I'm just saying. When you come in, you don't want to come in as if you know everything. We want to build something that when they see it and play it, they will still recognize their own country. As referenced above, One's claim of authenticity regarding Assassin's Creed Shadows is questionable assertion at best, and an outright lie at worst, as the game has been swamped in controversy regarding its approach to feudal Japanese history ever since the trailer. I mean, I said it, did I not? Such controversies have included such ahistorical developments as the games featuring the historical Yasuke as a full-blown samurai rather than a retainer. It's applying of Chinese architecture to Japanese buildings. I said that one as well. The unauthorized depiction of a modern-day historical reenactment group's personal flag as belonging to a historical military unit, which they said they wouldn't remove, by the way, and allowing the aforementioned Yasuke to engage in same-sex relationships despite no evidence existing to suggest he ever held such romantic inclinations. There is so much going on. There's so much wrong with this game, and yet for whatever reason, Ubisoft is just coasting on these interviews. They're not bringing up an ounce of this because, frankly, they are terrified of dropping the game even further. Like, this is a game that is going to be on sale within, 3 months, 6 at the most. You're going to hop on Steam, and you're going to be like, that game that was $70 is now $34.99? And then you'll probably end up picking it up. That's the way this is going to go down. Further, it should be noted that One's claim stands counter to Ubisoft's previous admission that while we put significant effort into ensuring an immersive and respectful representation of feudal Japan, their intention has never been to present any of our Assassin's Creed games, including Assassin's Creed Shadows, as factual representations of history or historical characters. And I agree to this. And the little bit of defense I've been running for Ubisoft is that all these games have been fiction going forward, or in the past. They've all been historical fiction. But how they've been historical fiction is very different, and they did not tout it with the accuracy that they did on the initial launch of this game with the Yasuke information. Now, they've since walked that back a bit, mainly because of the backlash, but at the end of the day, you can see they're treating this game very differently than they have their previous ones, because there is such scrutiny going on behind the scenes right now, or not behind the scenes, scrutiny from in front of the scenes, people like me and you watching. Instead, we aim to spark curiosity and encourage players to explore and learn about the historical settings we get inspired by. The dev explained in response to a Japanese outcry against the game's narrative and aesthetics. Assassin's Creed Shadows is first and foremost designed to be an entertaining video game that tells a compelling historical fiction set in feudal Japan. Our team extensively collaborated with external consultants, historians, researchers, and internal teams at Ubisoft Japan to inform our creative choices. Right! Yet there have been a multitude of historians that have come out and said everything you've done here is wildly incorrect. There have been researchers that have come out, said the same thing. Oh, you've worked with external consultants. Yeah, one of those external consultants was literally made famous as an academic about how samurais would fuck young boys and why it was okay. Yeah, one of your consultants is pro-samurai pedophilia. Yeah, that's not exactly the type of consultant that would jump in. If I was going to be making a game, and I was going to be making a game set in ancient Rome, I wouldn't have one of my consultants be somebody that works for the Catholic Church and would like to try and justify why the raping of little boys was a-okay by their popes and bishops and shit. It's absolutely insane. Given this documented history playing fast and loose with the historical inspirations, one wonders just how many players will end up unabashedly and uncritically buying Onici's claims. Well, I am not buying any of these, and you shouldn't either. Anyone watching this shouldn't either. Now, if you still want to buy the game, if you still think I'm an Assassin's Creed fan through and through, I mean, I ain't gonna stop you. It's a dumb, retarded, shitty game that, in my opinion, is not gonna make money. But there's, of course, gonna be people out there that's gonna buy it. Maybe you're gonna be one of those people. Maybe you don't care about this stuff in the slightest. And I would say, well, frankly, you're a moron. If you don't care about this sort of stuff, I'm gonna be real, you are a moron. Because, yes, while this might seem like it's no big deal, oh, it's just one thing, it's just one thing leads to another, and leads to another, and it piles up. And sure, this is just one thing, but this is also one thing, and a long line of just one thing that has come prior to this, and it's going to continue happening. We're going to continue perpetuating this cycle because people can't stop playing video games for long enough to do any amount of basic research and sort of have a modicum of respect for the art form as a whole, or really for the culture going forward, and it's absolutely mind-blowing to me. So yes, if you give an inch, they're gonna take a mile, and they have taken so many miles. I'm sorry, they're French. They've been taking so many kilometers at this point. So where do we draw the line? How do we put an end to this beyond speaking with our wallets and forcing this game to flop? But those are my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, where you can find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I bring you nerdy news every day. Not always about the video game industry or what's going down with the Gamergate news, but anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsofparadise_Leon and become a member for $4.99 a month. You can join the Discord, choose the articles I react to on my Friday night live streams, choose the videos that I see on those Friday night live streams, and of course, get involved with over 80 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to grow even further, because we do care about diversity, but only one kind of diversity of thought. So if that's interesting to you, join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it is all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.